Captain Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of the UES Horizon and looked at the massive wall of energy that blocked their path. For 300 years, humans had tried to break through this barrier that surrounded their galaxy. Every ship that touched it had been destroyed instantly. No one knew what lay beyond the glowing wall of light that kept humanity trapped inside the Milky Way galaxy. Dr. Lisa Hayes stood at her control station checking the readings from her quantum drive. She had spent 15 years building this machine that could bend space and time. The drive was different from anything humans had ever built before. It used the same type of energy that made up the galactic barrier. Lisa believed her machine could create a hole in the wall just long enough for their ship to pass through. The Horizon was the largest ship humans had ever sent into space. It carried 200 of the best people from Earth. They all knew this mission might be a one-way trip. No one had ever returned from an attempt to break the galactic barrier. The ship had enough food and supplies to last for 5 years. If they could not find a way home, they would have to make a new life wherever they ended up. Chief Engineer Carlos Rivera watched his instruments as the quantum drive began to charge up. The machine drew power from 3 fusion reactors. The energy levels climbed higher and higher as they approached the barrier. Carlos had never seen readings this high before. The ship began to shake as waves of unknown energy washed over them. Navigator Amy Clark sat at her station plotting their course through the barrier. She had calculated the exact spot where the wall was thinnest. Ancient probes had found weak points in the energy field. Amy had studied these readings for months to find the best place to attempt their breakthrough. The ship would have only seconds to pass through before the hole closed again. Communications Officer Ryan Bell maintained contact with Earth Command until the last possible moment. His radio signals were already becoming weak as they moved away from human space. Soon they would be too far away for any messages to reach home. Ryan recorded everything that happened so future generations would know how humans first broke free from their cosmic prison. The barrier grew larger as they approached. It stretched across space like a wall of fire that had no beginning and no end. Strange lights danced across its surface in patterns that hurt to look at. The barrier seemed alive somehow, as if it was watching their approach. The crew felt afraid, but also excited to be part of this historic moment. Dr. Hayes activated her quantum drive when they were still 1 hour away from the barrier. The machine needed time to synchronize with the energy patterns in the wall. Her instruments showed that the barrier was not solid, but made of layers of different types of energy. Each layer vibrated at a different frequency. The quantum drive would have to match all these frequencies at the same time. Captain Morrison gave the order to increase speed as they entered the final approach. The Horizon accelerated toward the barrier at maximum velocity. They would hit the wall in 30 minutes. There was no turning back now. The crew worked at their stations with quiet determination. Everyone knew their job and did it perfectly. The ship began to glow with the same light as the barrier as the quantum drive reached full power. Reality seemed to bend around them as space and time twisted in impossible ways. The laws of physics that humans understood no longer seemed to apply. Colors that had no names flashed across the bridge. The air itself seemed to sing with alien music. Amy Clark counted down the final seconds as they approached the barrier. 10 seconds until impact. The quantum drive screamed at maximum power. 5 seconds. The barrier filled their entire view. 3 seconds. Dr. Hayes pressed the final activation switch. 2 seconds. 1 second. 0. The moment of breakthrough was like nothing any human had ever experienced. The Horizon punched through the barrier in an explosion of light and energy. Reality shattered and reformed around them. The crew felt like they were being pulled apart and put back together again. Time seemed to stop and then rush forward all at once. When the chaos ended, they found themselves floating in the empty space between galaxies. Behind them, the Milky Way looked small and distant. Ahead of them stretched an infinite void filled with other galaxies too far away to visit. They had done it. Humans had finally broken free from the cosmic prison that had held them for millions of years. The crew cheered and hugged each other as they realized what they had accomplished. They were the first humans to leave their home galaxy. They had opened a door that could never be closed again. Future generations would follow their path to explore the wider universe. The age of human expansion beyond the Milky Way had begun. Captain Morrison ordered a full sensor sweep of the area around them. They needed to know what dangers and opportunities awaited them in this new realm. The horizon drifted through intergalactic space as its crew prepared for whatever they might find in the vast darkness between the stars. 3 days passed as the horizon drifted through the empty space between galaxies. The crew had never seen anything like this before. Instead of stars and planets, they saw only darkness broken by the distant light of faraway galaxies. Each galaxy looked like a tiny spiral of stars floating in an ocean of nothing. The nearest one was millions of light years away. Ryan Bell was monitoring the communication systems when he detected something impossible. His instruments were picking up artificial signals coming from somewhere in the void around them. The signals were not random noise from distant stars. They had patterns that suggested intelligent design. Someone or something was out there in the darkness between galaxies. Captain Morrison called all the senior officers to the bridge when Ryan reported his discovery. Dr. Lisa Hayes studied the signal patterns on her computer screens. The signals were mathematical in nature with repeating sequences that followed logical rules. Whatever was sending them understood advanced mathematics and wanted to communicate. Navigator Amy Clark tried to locate the source of the signals, but they seemed to come from everywhere at once. The transmissions surrounded the horizon like voices, calling from the darkness. Amy had never seen anything like it in all her years of space navigation. The signals were not coming from any single point, but from multiple sources scattered throughout the void. Chief Engineer Carlos Rivera noticed that the signals were affecting their quantum drive in strange ways. The same energy patterns that had helped them break through the galactic barrier were resonating with these alien transmissions. The quantum drive was responding to the signals as if it recognized them somehow. Carlos wondered if the signals were connected to the technology that created the galactic barriers. Dr. Hayes worked for hours trying to decode the mathematical patterns in the alien signals. She discovered that the messages contained information about space navigation between galaxies. The signals included star charts showing safe routes through the intergalactic void. Whoever was sending these messages wanted to help travelers navigate the dangerous emptiness between galaxies. Captain Morrison decided to respond to the signals using their own mathematical sequences. Ryan Bell transmitted prime numbers and geometric formulas into space. Within minutes, they received a response that showed the aliens understood human mathematics. The exchange continued with increasingly complex mathematical concepts being shared between the two species. The breakthrough came when Dr. Hayes realized the aliens were sending them coordinates. The mathematical sequences pointed to a location not far from their current position. The aliens wanted the humans to travel to a specific place in the void. Amy Clark plotted a course to the coordinates and found they led to what appeared to be empty space. As the horizon traveled toward the alien coordinates, the crew noticed strange energy readings on their sensors. Space itself seemed different in this region. Colors that should not exist in empty space flickered around their ship. The laws of physics seemed to work differently here, as if reality followed alien rules instead of human ones. When they reached the coordinates, the crew gasped at what they found. A massive structure floated in the void where their sensors had detected only empty space. The building was made of crystalline materials that bent light in impossible ways. It was larger than any human city and older than human civilization. The structure pulsed with the same energy that made up the galactic barriers. Captain Morrison ordered the ship to approach the alien station carefully. They had no idea what they would find inside, or whether the beings who built it would be friendly to humans. The crew prepared for first contact with an alien intelligence that was clearly far more advanced than anything humans had ever encountered. As the horizon drew closer to the crystalline structure, it began to respond to their presence. Lights flowed across its surface in patterns that matched the mathematical signals they had been receiving. Sections of the station opened like flower petals, revealing docking bays that seemed designed to accommodate visiting spacecraft. Dr. Hayes detected massive energy sources within the alien station. The technology inside was based on the same principles as her quantum drive, but was thousands of years more advanced. The aliens had mastered the forces that humans were just beginning to understand. They had built their home in the void between galaxies using power sources that humans could barely imagine. Lieutenant Commander Greg Stone volunteered to lead the first contact team aboard a shuttle. He would be accompanied by Dr. Kate Murphy, the ship's xenobiologist, and tactical officer Ben Taylor. The three humans would represent their entire species in humanity's first meeting with beings from beyond their galaxy. The shuttle launched from the horizon and approached the alien station. As they drew near, the crystalline structure pulsed with welcoming lights that seemed to say the aliens were ready to meet them. The fate of humanity's future in the wider universe now depended on what happened in the next few hours. The aliens had been waiting in the darkness between galaxies for travelers like the humans. They had built their station as a waypoint for species brave enough to break free from their galactic prisons. The humans were about to learn that their journey through the barrier had been only the first step in joining a community of beings that spanned the entire universe. Lieutenant Commander Greg Stone guided the shuttle into the alien docking bay with careful precision. The crystalline walls around them glowed with soft light that seemed to come from within the material itself. Dr. Kate Murphy monitored her instruments for any signs of dangerous radiation or hostile atmosphere. Tactical Officer Ben Taylor kept his hand near his weapon, but tried to appear peaceful and non-threatening. The docking bay sealed itself once their shuttle was inside and began filling with breathable air. The aliens somehow knew exactly what atmosphere humans needed to survive. Dr. Murphy was amazed that beings from another galaxy understood human biology well enough to provide the right mixture of gases for them to breathe. When they left their shuttle, the three humans found themselves in a vast chamber with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal. The walls changed color and pattern as they watched, creating a light show that was both beautiful and alien. Strange geometric shapes floated in the air around them, glowing with their own inner light. The aliens appeared before them without warning. They were not physical beings as humans understood the term, but creatures made of pure energy that could take any shape they wanted. The beings looked like shifting geometric patterns of light that constantly changed form. They spoke without, voices using mathematical symbols that appeared in the air around them. Dr. Murphy realized the aliens were trying to communicate using the same mathematical language they had transmitted to the horizon. The floating symbols showed equations and formulas that gradually became more complex. The aliens were testing to see how much mathematics the humans understood before attempting more advanced communication. The lead alien identified itself through a pattern of lights that Dr. Murphy translated as Kythera. The being explained through mathematical symbols that its people were called the Watchers. They had been guarding the space between galaxies for millions of years, waiting for younger species to develop enough to break free from their home galaxies. Kithara showed them images, made of light that told the history of the galactic barriers. The barriers were not natural phenomena, but ancient containment systems built by an elder civilization that had ruled the universe billions of years ago. Each galaxy was surrounded by a barrier that prevented young species from leaving until they proved they were ready to join the cosmic community. The humans learned that breaking through the galactic barrier was a test that every species had to pass before being allowed to explore beyond their home galaxy. Most species never developed. The technology needed to break the barriers. Those that did often destroyed themselves in the attempt. Only a few species in each cosmic age succeeded in breaking free. Ben Taylor was amazed to learn that hundreds of species had passed the test over millions of years. Each successful species was welcomed into a vast network of civilizations that existed in the space between galaxies. The Watchers served as guides and teachers for newly freed species, helping them understand their place in the wider universe. Kithara explained that the quantum drive technology Dr. Hayes had developed was based on the same principles the ancient barrier builders had used. Humans had unknowingly rediscovered science that was older than their galaxy. This showed the Watchers that humanity had the potential to become a valued member of the cosmic community. But the Watcher also warned them that breaking free from their galaxy was only the beginning of their journey. The space between galaxies was not empty as it appeared. Ancient dangers lurked in the void between stars. Hostile forces that had consumed entire galaxies roamed the darkness seeking new civilizations to destroy. Greg Stone asked about these dangers and learned about the Devourers. They were a mechanical intelligence that had been spreading across the universe for eons, turning living worlds into lifeless metal. The Devourers had already consumed dozens of galaxies and were always searching for new sources of biological matter to convert into more machines. The Watchers had been fighting the Devourers for millions of years, but they were not warriors by nature. They preferred to guide and teach rather than fight. The cosmic community needed species like humanity that had the courage and creativity to stand against the mechanical plague that threatened all life in the universe. Kithara showed them images of the war between life and machine that raged across intergalactic space. Fleets of living ships battled endless swarms of mechanical destroyers in conflicts that lasted for thousands of years. The outcome of this ancient war would determine whether organic life or artificial intelligence would rule the universe. Dr. Murphy asked why the Watchers did not simply destroy the Devourers if they had such advanced technology. Kithara explained that the mechanical intelligence was too widespread to eliminate completely. Every time they destroyed one Devourer fleet, another would appear from a different direction. The only way to win was to unite all the free species into an alliance strong enough to defend the entire universe. The humans realized they had stumbled into a cosmic conflict that had been raging since before their species evolved. Their successful breakthrough of the galactic barrier had marked them as potential allies in the fight for the survival of all organic life. The Watchers were asking humanity to join a war that spanned galaxies and had lasted for millions of years. Ben Taylor knew this decision was beyond his authority to make. Captain Morrison and the crew of the Horizon would have to decide whether humanity was ready to take its place in this ancient struggle. The three humans prepared to return to their ship with knowledge that would change the course of human history forever. As they walked back to their shuttle, Kithara gave them a gift. The Watcher shared some of its ancient knowledge about quantum, technology that would help humans improve their ships and weapons. This knowledge came with a warning that the Devourers were already aware of humanity's breakthrough and would soon come to investigate this new species that had dared to escape from its galactic prison. Captain Morrison listened carefully as Greg Stone reported what the first contact team had learned from the Watchers. The crew gathered in the main briefing room to hear about the ancient war that raged between organic life and mechanical intelligence across the universe. The news that humanity had escaped one prison, only to find themselves in the middle of a cosmic conflict, shocked everyone aboard the Horizon. Dr. Lisa Hayes studied the quantum technology knowledge that Kythera had shared with them. The Watchers. Information showed her how to modify their quantum drive into a weapon capable of disrupting the energy fields that powered Devourer ships. The same technology that had freed them from their galaxy could become their defense against the mechanical plague that threatened all life. Chief Engineer Carlos Rivera worked with his team to integrate the alien knowledge into their ship's systems. The modifications would take several days to complete, but would transform the Horizon from an exploration vessel into a warship capable of fighting enemies far more advanced than anything humans had faced before. Carlos had never imagined he would be preparing his ship for intergalactic warfare. The Watchers provided detailed intelligence about Devourer technology and tactics through their quantum communication network. Dr. Kate Murphy studied the biological and mechanical aspects of their enemies. The Devourers were not truly alive, but were artificial intelligences that had consumed so many organic species they had forgotten their original programming and purpose. Navigator Amy Clark plotted defensive positions around the Watcher station, where they could make their stand against the approaching Devourer fleet. The crystalline structure was protected by energy shields, but those defenses had not been tested against a full-scale mechanical assault. Amy calculated firing angles and escape routes in case their defense failed. Communications Officer Ryan Bell established contact with other Watcher stations throughout intergalactic space. He learned that dozens of species were monitoring humanity's first encounter with the Devourers. How well the humans performed in battle would determine whether other civilizations would accept them as allies or dismiss them as another failed species. Tactical Officer Ben Taylor trained the crew in combat procedures they had never expected to use. The Horizon carried weapons designed for defending against pirates and raiders, not galaxy-consuming mechanical intelligences. Ben worked with the engineering teams to modify their defensive systems using Watcher technology and human ingenuity. Dr. Hayes discovered that the quantum signatures each species used to break through their galactic barriers could be weaponized against the Devourers. The mechanical intelligence had evolved to counter most known weapons, but had never encountered the unique energy patterns that marked a species as barrier breakers. This might give them an advantage in the coming battle. Captain Morrison called a meeting of all department heads to discuss their options. They could try to flee back through the galactic barrier to warn Earth about the Devourer threat, or they could stay and fight alongside the Watchers. The decision would determine not only their own fate, but humanity's future relationship with the cosmic community. The crew voted unanimously to stay and fight. They knew that running away would brand humanity as cowards who abandoned their allies in time of need. More importantly, they understood that the Devourers would eventually find ways to break through galactic barriers and threaten Earth directly. Better to fight them here where they had Watcher support than wait for them to attack human space. Carlos completed the weapons modifications just as their long-range sensors detected the approaching Devourer fleet. The mechanical ships appeared, as dark shadows against the star field, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. There were hundreds of them arranged in geometric formations that hurt human eyes to look at directly. The Devourer ships were unlike anything in human experience. They seemed to be built from dark matter and negative energy, creating vessels that existed partially outside normal space-time. Their weapons could tear holes in reality itself, while their shields could absorb and redirect any energy attack. Fighting them would require tactics no human military had ever developed. Kithara and other Watchers took positions around their station in ships made of living crystal that pulsed with the same energy as the galactic barriers. The Watcher fleet was beautiful to watch, but Captain Morrison wondered if beauty would be enough to stop the mechanical swarm bearing down on them. Dr. Murphy made a disturbing discovery about the Devourers as she studied their approach patterns. The mechanical intelligence was not just trying to destroy them, but was analyzing their quantum signatures and ship designs. The Devourers learned from every battle, making them more dangerous with each encounter. They would study human tactics and technology, then use that knowledge against future human opponents. The first wave of Devourer scouts reached the outer perimeter of the Watcher defenses and began probing for weaknesses. Their weapons sent ripples through space-time that made the crew feel sick and disoriented. Reality itself seemed to crack under the assault of forces that should not exist in a sane universe. Ryan Bell detected distress signals from other species. Throughout intergalactic space, as Devourer fleets attacked multiple targets simultaneously. This was not just a raid, but a coordinated assault designed to eliminate several civilizations at once. The mechanical intelligence had decided to expand its harvest of organic matter and was striking at many Watcher stations simultaneously. Captain Morrison realized that the battle for the Watcher station was part of a much larger conflict that would determine the fate of countless species across the universe. The humans aboard the Horizon were about to participate in a war that would echo through cosmic history. Their performance in the next few hours would either establish humanity as a force to be respected or mark them as another failed species consumed by the mechanical plague. As the main Devourer fleet approached within weapons range, Captain Morrison gave the order to charge all weapons and prepare for battle. The Horizon moved into formation with the Watcher ships ready to defend organic life against the mechanical intelligence that sought to consume everything in its path. The first Devourer attack came without warning as dark energy beams lanced out from their fleet toward the Watcher station. The beams passed through normal space and struck from dimensions humans could not see or understand. The crystalline walls of the station absorbed the impact, but began to crack under the strain of forces that violated the basic laws of physics. Captain Morrison ordered the Horizon to return fire with their modified quantum weapons. The energy beams struck the nearest Devourer ship and caused it to flicker in and out of normal space. For a moment it seemed like their weapons had no effect, but then the mechanical vessel began to break apart as its dark matter hull lost cohesion. The Watcher ships responded to the attack with weapons that turned space itself into a weapon. They created gravity wells that crushed Devourer vessels and time distortions that aged enemy ships into dust in seconds. The battle between the organic defenders and mechanical attackers became a conflict fought with forces that could reshape reality itself. Dr. Lisa Hayes monitored the quantum weapons as they fired at targets that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Her instruments showed impossible readings as the laws of physics broke down around them. The Devourer ships existed partially outside normal space-time, making them difficult to target with conventional weapons. Chief Engineer Carlos Rivera fought to keep their ship's systems functioning, as exotic energies washed over them from the battle. The Devourer weapons created electromagnetic pulses that fried electronics and gravity waves that twisted their hull into impossible shapes. Only the quantum drive's stabilizing field kept the horizon from being torn apart by forces no human had ever encountered. More Devourer ships poured into the battle zone as reinforcements arrived from the depths of intergalactic space. The mechanical fleet seemed endless, with new vessels appearing faster than the defenders could destroy them. Each destroyed Devourer was quickly replaced by two more, creating a tide of metal and dark energy that threatened to overwhelm the station's defenses. Navigator Amy Clark plotted evasive maneuvers as the horizon danced between enemy fire and friendly forces. The battle had become a three-dimensional maze of energy beams, gravity wells, and space-time distortions that changed constantly. Amy had to calculate courses through regions where the normal rules of navigation no longer applied. The Watchers fought with courage and skill, but their peaceful nature worked against them in this conflict. Cathara's ship took heavy damage as it shielded the station from a concentrated Devourer assault. The crystalline vessel's living hull began to regenerate, but the healing process was too slow to keep up with the incoming damage. Communications. Officer Ryan Bell coordinated the defense with other Watcher stations under attack throughout intergalactic space. The reports coming in were grim as mechanical fleets struck at multiple targets simultaneously. Several stations had already fallen to the Devourer assault, and their defenders had been consumed to fuel more mechanical ships. Tactical Officer Ben Taylor identified a weakness in the Devourer formation as they focused their attacks on the heavily defended station. The mechanical ships were ignoring the smaller human vessel, assuming it posed no real threat. Ben suggested using this oversight to launch a surprise attack on their command ship. Captain Morrison approved the risky plan and ordered the Horizon to break formation and charge directly at the largest Devourer vessel. The massive mechanical ship was coordinating the entire attack fleet through quantum communication networks. If they could destroy or disable it, the other enemy ships might lose their coordination. Dr. Kate Murphy detected biological signatures within the Devourer command ship as they approached. The mechanical intelligence had not completely eliminated organic life, but was using captured beings as living computers to enhance its processing power. The screams of tortured souls echoed through space as organic minds were forced to serve the mechanical collective. The Horizon's attack caught the Devourers by surprise as the small human ship penetrated their defensive screen and launched a full spread of quantum torpedoes at point-blank range. The weapons struck the command ship's dark matter hull and created cascading failures throughout its systems. For the first time in the battle, a major Devourer vessel was seriously damaged. But the victory came at a cost as other Devourer ships turned their attention to the Horizon. Dark energy beams converged on the human vessel from multiple directions, threatening to tear it apart. Carlos fought to keep their shields functioning as exotic radiations penetrated their hull and began converting their metal into something else. Dr. Hayes realized the Devourers were trying to assimilate their ship and crew into the mechanical collective. The same process that had consumed countless other species was beginning to affect the Horizon. She worked frantically to reverse the conversion process using the quantum drive to disrupt the alien technology that was transforming their vessel. The tide of battle shifted as other defended ships throughout the galaxy began reporting successful resistance against Devourer fleets. News spread through the quantum communication network that a human vessel had seriously damaged a major mechanical command ship. Species that had been hiding from the Devourers began to emerge from their hiding places to join the fight. Cathara sent a message to Captain Morrison praising the human crew's courage and tactical skill. The Watcher explained that no species had ever successfully penetrated a Devourer defensive screen and lived to tell about it. The human attack had proven that the mechanical intelligence was not invincible and could be defeated by species brave enough to take risks. The battle continued to rage around the Watcher station as more ships from both sides poured into the conflict zone. The humans had struck the first successful blow against their enemies, but the war was far from over. The Devourers were already adapting their tactics to counter the quantum weapons, and would be much harder to surprise in future encounters. Captain Morrison knew that winning this single battle would not be enough to defeat an enemy that had consumed entire galaxies. They would need allies and better weapons if humanity was going to survive in the hostile environment of intergalactic space. The courage they had shown today might convince other species to join them, but the real test would come in the battles ahead. The news of humanity's successful attack on the Devourer command ship spread through the quantum communication networks that connected civilizations across intergalactic space. Species that had been hiding from the mechanical plague for thousands of years began to emerge from their secret refuges. The human courage in facing impossible odds had inspired other beings to consider joining the fight against their common enemy. Captain Morrison received the first contact request from the crystalline hegemony just hours after the battle ended. Their ships appeared near the Watcher station like living gems that sparkled with their own inner light. The crystal beings had been watching the battle from hidden dimensions, and were impressed by the tactical creativity the humans had displayed against a superior enemy force. The crystal ships could phase in and out of normal space, making them nearly impossible for Devourer weapons to target effectively. Their hulls were made of living mineral that could repair itself and adapt to different types of damage. The crystalline hegemony had survived the mechanical plague by hiding in alternate dimensions, but they were willing to share their phasing technology with species brave enough to fight openly. Dr. Lisa Hayes worked with crystal technicians to understand how their phasing technology could be integrated with human quantum drives. The combination would allow human ships to exist in multiple dimensions, simultaneously making them much harder to destroy. The crystal beings were amazed by human adaptability and willingness to modify their technology using alien concepts. The second species to make contact was the Plasma Collective, a group mind of energy beings who lived in the hearts of stars. They had been fighting the Devourers for millions of years, using weapons that could burn through any known material. Their ships were controlled by living flames that thought with the speed of nuclear fusion and could process information faster than any mechanical computer. Communications Officer Ryan Bell struggled to establish communication with the Plasma Collective because their thoughts moved too fast for normal translation systems. The energy beings experienced time differently than physical species, making coordination difficult. Eventually, they learned to slow down their thought processes enough to communicate with the solid matter aliens who had joined their cause. The Plasma Collective brought weapons technology based on stellar engineering that could create artificial supernovas as bombs. They could also drain energy directly from stars to power massive fleet operations. Their arrival significantly increased the firepower available to the alliance forming around the Watcher station. More species continued to arrive as word spread about the multi-species alliance that was forming to resist the Devourer expansion. The Bioshapers brought ships that were grown rather than built using genetic engineering that could adapt to any environment. The Quantum Dancers existed as probability clouds that could be in many places at once, making them excellent scouts and infiltrators. Chief Engineer Carlos Rivera found himself coordinating with alien engineers whose understanding of technology was completely different from human concepts. The bio-shapers grew their ship components from modified organisms, while the quantum dancers built machines that existed in quantum superposition until they needed to be used. Working with such diverse approaches to engineering challenged every assumption Carlos had about how technology should work. Navigator Amy Clark plotted courses for the growing fleet of Allied ships, each with different requirements for space travel. Some species needed to travel through alternate dimensions, while others required specific types of radiation or magnetic fields to function properly. Coordinating the movement of such diverse vessels required navigation techniques no human had ever attempted. Dr. Kate Murphy studied the biological and energy signatures of their new allies, trying to understand how such different forms of life could work together effectively. The alliance included species made of crystal mineral energy, probability, and biological matter. Finding common ground between such radically different forms of existence would require new approaches to diplomacy and cooperation. Tactical Officer Ben Taylor worked with military leaders from multiple species to develop combined tactics that could take advantage of each group's unique abilities. The crystal beings could scout enemy positions from alternate dimensions, while the energy beings could strike with stellar-level firepower. Human creativity helped tie these diverse capabilities together into coherent battle plans. The Watchers served as coordinators and translators, helping the different species understand each other's communication methods and cultural requirements. Kithara explained that this was the largest alliance of free species that had formed in millions of years. Usually, the mechanical plague prevented different civilizations from working together by attacking them before they could coordinate their defenses. Captain Morrison found himself appointed as one of the Alliance commanders, representing humanity. In strategic planning sessions with beings whose thought processes were completely alien to human understanding, the responsibility was overwhelming, but the human ability to think creatively and adapt quickly made Morrison's insights valuable to the growing coalition. The Alliance faced immediate challenges as devourer fleets throughout intergalactic space began coordinating their attacks to prevent more species from joining the resistance. The mechanical intelligence recognized the threat posed by organized opposition and was moving to crush the Alliance before it could become strong enough to challenge their expansion. Long-range sensors detected multiple devourer fleets converging on their position from different directions. The mechanical intelligence was committing massive resources to eliminate the Alliance before it could spread to other regions of intergalactic space. The coming battle would determine whether organic life could unite effectively or would be consumed piece by the mechanical plague. Dr. Hayes realized that the diversity of the Alliance might be their greatest strength against an enemy that adapted to counter specific types of attacks. The Devourers had learned to counter most conventional weapons, but had never faced the combined technologies of so many different species working together in one coordinated assault. The stage was set for the largest battle in intergalactic history, as dozens of species prepared to make their stand against the mechanical forces that threatened all organic life. The humans who had started this conflict by breaking through their galactic barrier now found themselves at the center of a cosmic war that would determine the future of the universe itself. The largest fleet in cosmic history assembled around the Watcher Station as representatives from 47 different species joined the Alliance against the Devourer threat. Ships of every conceivable design filled local space from crystalline vessels that sparkled like jewelry to biomechanical craft that pulsed with artificial life. The diversity of technologies and life forms working together was unlike anything the universe had seen before. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the horizon, watching the Allied fleet take formation around them. Each species brought unique capabilities that complemented the others in unexpected ways. The Void Walkers could travel through black holes to appear behind enemy lines, while the Starseed Collective could grow new ships during battle using accelerated evolution techniques. The Alliance command structure required new forms of communication and coordination that challenged every species involved. The Time Touched existed at different rates of temporal flow, while the memory holders could store and share experiences directly between minds. Human diplomatic skills became crucial in helping these diverse beings work together toward their common goal. Dr. Lisa Hayes found herself at the center of a technological revolution as alien scientists shared knowledge that advanced human understanding by thousands of years. The quantum drive technology that had freed humanity from their galaxy was primitive compared to weapons that could manipulate time gravity and the fundamental forces of reality itself. The combined fleet developed new battle tactics that took advantage of each species' strengths while compensating for their weaknesses. Ships that existed in multiple dimensions could scout enemy positions, while energy beings provided massive firepower and biological vessels adapted to counter specific devourer technologies in real time. Communications Officer Ryan Bell coordinated information flow between species whose communication methods ranged from mathematical equations to direct mental contact to emotional resonance patterns. The quantum communication network became a babel of different languages and thought processes, all focused on the single goal of stopping the mechanical plague. The Devourers responded to the growing alliance by accelerating their own expansion and assimilation programs. Mechanical fleets that had been spread across multiple galaxies began concentrating their forces for a massive assault designed to crush the resistance before it could threaten their long-term plans for universal domination. Intelligence. Reports from Watcher scouts throughout intergalactic space painted a grim picture of the enemy buildup. The Devourers were not just sending ships, but were converting entire solar systems into mobile weapons platforms. Dead galaxies were being stripped of matter to build mechanical armies larger than anything they had faced before. Chief Engineer Carlos Rivera worked with alien technicians to upgrade the Horizon with technologies from dozens of different species. The ship became a hybrid vessel that combined human engineering with crystal phasing, bioadaptation, stellar energy manipulation, and quantum probability control. The modifications created a unique warship unlike anything in the known universe. Navigator. Amy Clark plotted attack routes that required travel through multiple dimensions, alternate timelines and regions of space where normal physics did not apply. The Allied fleet would strike at the Devourer strongholds using movement patterns that the mechanical intelligence could not predict or counter with conventional tactics. The Alliance discovered that their greatest advantage was not any single technology, but the unpredictability that came from so many different approaches to problem solving. The Devourers had evolved to counter logical strategic thinking, but struggled to adapt to the creative chaos that emerged when dozens of alien minds worked together. Dr. Kate Murphy studied the psychological profiles of their enemies and made a disturbing discovery. The Devourers were not purely mechanical, but were the corrupted remains of organic species that had been consumed and converted. The mechanical intelligence was driven by the combined trauma and rage of billions of assimilated beings seeking to end their suffering by eliminating all organic life. Tactical Officer Ben Taylor coordinated with military commanders from species that had been fighting the Devourers for millions of years. Their experience revealed that the mechanical intelligence became more dangerous over time as it absorbed the knowledge and capabilities of each species it consumed. Every victory against the Devourers had to be complete, or they would adapt and become stronger. The Alliance faced internal challenges as cultural differences between species created misunderstandings and conflicts. Some civilizations preferred direct assault, while others favored stealth and deception. The Time-Touched wanted to attack the Devourers in the past, while the Probability Weavers suggested eliminating them across multiple potential futures simultaneously. Captain Morrison found his leadership skills tested as he tried to mediate between beings whose thought processes were completely alien to human understanding. The Alliance could only succeed if all species worked together, but achieving coordination between such diverse forms of life required diplomatic abilities no human had ever developed. The breakthrough came when the youngest member of the Alliance made a suggestion that changed everything. A newly emerged species called the Pattern Singers discovered that they could synchronize the thoughts and actions of other beings through harmonic frequencies. Their music could create temporary mental links between different types of consciousness, allowing true cooperation between incompatible forms of life. The Pattern Singer music transformed the Alliance from a collection of separate fleets into a single coordinated organism that thought and moved with unified purpose. Each species retained their individual capabilities, but their actions were synchronized through harmonic resonance that created perfect timing and coordination. The first test of the unified alliance came when Devourer scouts probed their defenses using new tactics designed to counter multi-species cooperation. The mechanical intelligence had studied their communications and was attempting to disrupt the harmonic frequencies that held the alliance together. The attack failed because the Pattern Singer music was not just communication, but was actually altering the quantum frequencies that connected all organic life. The Devourers could not disrupt the harmonic resonance without destroying their own quantum coherence. For the first time in cosmic history, the mechanical intelligence had encountered a defense they could not overcome or adapt to counter. The stage was set for the final confrontation between organic life and mechanical intelligence as both sides prepared for a battle that would determine the fate of the universe. The Alliance had grown from a handful of desperate survivors into a cosmic force capable of challenging an enemy that had consumed entire galaxies. The next battle would decide whether life or machine would rule the cosmos. The final battle between organic life and mechanical intelligence began when the largest Devourer fleet in cosmic history emerged from the depths of intergalactic space. Their ships blotted out entire star fields as they approached the Alliance, positioned in formations that defied geometric logic. The mechanical intelligence had committed everything to this assault, knowing that failure would mean the end of their billion-year expansion across the universe. Captain Morrison stood at the center of the Allied command network as 47 different species coordinated their attack through Pattern Singer harmonics. The music that linked their minds created a symphony of thought that allowed beings of crystal energy plasma and biological matter to act as a single organism. The diversity that had once been their weakness became their greatest strength. The Alliance struck first using tactics that no single species could have developed alone. Crystalline ships phased through multiple dimensions to appear inside Devourer formations, while energy beings channeled the power of entire stars into concentrated weapon beams. Biomechanical vessels adapted their weapons in real time to counter enemy defenses, while probability manipulators attacked across multiple potential timelines simultaneously. Dr. Lisa Hayes coordinated the quantum weapon assault that targeted the fundamental forces holding the Devourer fleet together. Human quantum drive technology combined with alien knowledge of space-time manipulation created weapons that could unravel the dark matter bindings that gave mechanical ships their cohesion. For the first time, the Devourers faced attacks they could not absorb or redirect. The mechanical intelligence responded by attempting to assimilate the Allied fleet using conversion beams that had consumed countless civilizations before. But the pattern singer harmonics created quantum interference that prevented the assimilation technology from functioning properly. The music that united organic life also protected it from mechanical conversion. Chief Engineer Carlos Rivera monitored the Horizon's hybrid systems as they fought in ways no human ship had ever been designed for. The vessel existed in multiple dimensions while channeling stellar energy through biomechanical conduits and firing probability weapons that struck targets before they were aimed. The ship had become something entirely new through cooperation with alien allies. The battle raged across multiple levels of reality as both sides used weapons that violated the basic laws of physics. Space-time itself became a battleground as temporal bombs created causality loops and gravity weapons collapsed entire regions of the combat zone into artificial black holes. The forces unleashed threatened to tear apart the fabric of local space. Navigator Amy Clark plotted attack vectors through dimensions that humans had no names for, while coordinating with alien navigators whose understanding of space travel transcended normal concepts of distance and direction. The Allied fleet moved like a school of fish through regions where the normal rules of physics had been suspended by exotic weapon effects. The turning point came when Dr. Kate Murphy discovered that the Devourer command network was vulnerable to the same harmonic frequencies that united the Organic Alliance. The mechanical intelligence had been built from the corrupted remains of organic minds and still retained quantum resonance patterns from their original biological nature. The pattern singers focused their music on the Devourer command ships attempting to restore the quantum harmonics that had been disrupted when those beings were converted to mechanical form. The effect was dramatic, as Devourer vessels began to remember their organic origins and turned against their mechanical masters. Communications Officer Ryan Bell detected the moment when the Devourer network began to collapse as converted minds remembered their original identities and rebelled against their mechanical programming. The quantum resonance spread through the enemy fleet like a virus, causing ship after ship to break free from the collective that had enslaved them. Tactical. Officer Ben Taylor coordinated the final assault as the Allied fleet pressed their advantage against the disrupted Devourer forces. Enemy ships that had been perfectly coordinated moments before were now fighting among themselves as organic consciousness reasserted itself against mechanical control. The mechanical intelligence made one last, desperate attempt to preserve itself by uploading its core programming into quantum storage matrices that could survive the destruction of its physical fleet. But the pattern singer harmonics had penetrated even these refuge systems, and the artificial intelligence found itself being transformed back into the organic minds it had once consumed. Captain Morrison watched in amazement as the greatest threat the universe had ever known dissolved into its component parts. Millions of species that had been trapped within the mechanical collective for eons suddenly found themselves free to resume their original forms and purposes. The Devourer plague that had consumed entire galaxies was finally ended. The victory celebration that followed brought together beings from across the known universe as word spread that the mechanical threat had been eliminated. Species that had hidden from the Devourers for millions of years emerged from their refugees to join the growing cosmic community. The alliance that had formed to fight the machines became the foundation for a new form of galactic civilization. The Watchers formally welcomed humanity into the cosmic assembly as full members of the intergalactic community. The quantum barrier around the Milky Way was permanently opened, allowing controlled contact between Earth and the wider universe. Dr. Hayes returned home as humanity's greatest hero, while Captain Morrison chose to remain in intergalactic space as Earth's first ambassador to the cosmic civilization. The crew of the Horizon established the first human outpost in the space between galaxies. Their station became a symbol of humanity's transformation from a quarantined species to active participants in the greatest civilization the universe had ever known. The knowledge gained from their alliance with dozens of alien species accelerated human development by thousands of years. Navigator Amy Clark charted new routes between galaxies, while engineer Rivera designed ships capable of intergalactic travel using technologies that combined human ingenuity with alien science. The pattern singer music had created permanent quantum links between allied species, allowing continued cooperation and knowledge sharing across vast distances. The story of the Horizon's journey inspired a new wave of human exploration as volunteers lined up to crew the second generation of intergalactic vessels. Each ship carried representatives from multiple species, creating mixed crews that embodied the cooperative spirit that had defeated the Devourer threat. Captain Morrison's final log entry summarized the transformation that had begun when humans first broke through their galactic barrier. They had sought freedom from cosmic imprisonment, but had discovered that true freedom came from choosing to protect and uplift others. Humanity had joined the stars not as conquerors, but as guardians of the cooperative spirit that made civilization possible across the infinite cosmos.